Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Regent College. Welcome to a variation on the evening public lectures that we do. Many of you have been to many of those. This one's going to be different. What we're going to do is explore the connection of this metaphor of jazz improvisation and leadership.
You've given us joy in the present, helps walk in your good way. You hold us in your loving gaze, and we reach down close and give you all the praise. Lord, you're always reconciling, it's your love. You teach us to abide in. You work your good in our lives, help lead yourself to Christ. Your love pursues us all our days, and we lift our voice and give you all praise.
So leadership is a personal, relational, contextual, interpretive art. Well, that's quite a mouthful, but think about the analogy this way. Playing jazz is personal. These are people. And what they're going to do comes out of the heart, comes out of something deep within them. And something within them that has probably been circulating in their bloodstream for quite a while. Comes out of who they are. So leading is like that. Playing jazz is personal. It's also relational. One of the things you might want to do as you watch and listen tonight is just watch the way this group interacts with one another. Seems to me that there's something we might be able to learn. It's doing something together is what this business of relationship and leadership is all about. And leading is trying to get people to do stuff together well. And that's what they're going to try to do tonight, is some stuff together. Contextual. Well, they're doing it together here tonight in this place, this space that we've worked hard to kind of get ready for this, in the context of a rainy Monday night in Vancouver, one of the many rainy Monday nights in Vancouver. So this setting, this place, you folk being here, these folk being here, it's all part of a context. It's part of the reality that's shaping what we're in. And you're a part of this, right? And lastly, interpretive. Leading is always interpreting what's going on in the context, what's going on in the relationships, what's really happening amongst us. So there's something inevitably personal, relational, contextual, and interpretive about playing jazz together and leading.
And I just wanted to share with you a story when I was a young jazz musician back in Sydney, sort of learning the trade. And I had the privilege of learning off one of the best jazz pianists in that country, Roger Frampton, who's now died. And I remember one lesson, which was very formative for me. I was playing the piano for Roger, and I was playing a jazz standard, which is what he asked me to do. And I was playing with a full heart. I sort of closed my eyes and let my fingers roam with energy all around the keyboard. And I thought I was sounding fantastic. I was sort of going into dreamland and getting very excited. And I finished playing this jazz standard, finished the solo and played out the piece. And I was excited to hear what Roger Frampton would say. And Roger said, kindly enough, you need to think about the difference between getting excited and being exciting. I thought, And what Roger was saying was that I was getting excited. I was getting excited in my heart and just letting my fingers rip around the keyboard, thinking I was sounding awesome, but I wasn't focused and I wasn't going deep and I wasn't listening carefully, and so I wasn't, even though I was getting excited, I wasn't being exciting. Because as jazz musicians, when we're playing and being exciting, we're deeply focused, we're listening very, very deeply to one another, and we're patient, and we wait, and we're in a zone. And so I've taken that as a jazz pianist for my whole life as a really important lesson. But now as a leader, I work as a pastor at Grandview Church in East Van. whether I am with the staff that I lead with, or whether I'm with volunteers in the church, that difference between getting excited and being exciting is very important to me. And as a leader, I can easily get excited. Any old leader can get excited. And we make our stirring speeches and no one's really listening. And we make snap decisions because we're feeling passionate in our heart. But often we're not actually building a team, and we're not listening carefully, and we're not getting the kind of traction we want in our organisation. And we think, why aren't we? Why aren't we moving forward together? But a leader, to be exciting, needs a totally different posture to a leader who's getting excited, right? We need to focus, and we need to pause, and we need to listen very, very deeply. We need to slow down in time to take the temperature in the room and to hear from others and to discern together where we're going. That's the difference between being an excited leader, like an excited little jazz pianist, or an exciting leader who's able to go deep with a bunch of people.
Mark and I were talking about this. It struck a lot of nerves with me, and the temptation of the virtuoso leader is very much in our world, and charismatic leaders are the ones that we seem to be attracted to in many ways. Look at the political landscape. But I just was thinking about the being excited isn't particularly associated with listening. It's associated with talking. Usually great orators are those that are excited about what they're saying. But often these charismatic, excited figures that draw great passion and exude great passion are not the same ones who actually listen. And it's the listening and doing something in common, and not just doing something to someone, doing something with someone, that really marks the kind of leaders that I think I'm interested in seeing in the world, and maybe you are too. Those that can, being exciting, means drawing others into something that you share in common and doing something together that you can't do. Seems to involve a kind of deference to someone else having a voice, someone else having something to offer, someone else having something to say, that calls for listening, that creates something that's shared, that creates something of a kind of common groove with other people. So it's just struck a nerve with me what Mark was talking about, his own upbringing and that incident of being excited or being exciting, and I just think that it strikes a nerve with maybe some of you as well.
Righto, well here's your job. We're going to play Bye Bye Blackbird. It's a jazz standard that you'll recognise, and your job is to see if you can hear the five of us listening deeply to one another, because good jazz musicians listen more deeply to one another than to themselves.
Pack up all my care and woe, here I go singing low. Bye bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is he. Bye bye,
What's it look like to pay attention?
Well, I think, if I think about how I paid attention when I was a young musician, it was listening to what I was playing and what I was doing. But you start to learn to listen to others.
So as a bass player in this kind of music, like the undercurrent of everything I'm listening to is probably the drummer, first of all, like the hi-hat, locking in with I'm playing a lot of quarter notes, like these, I'm playing like these consistent walking bass lines are called. Trying to lock in with the ride of the drummer, that's like the first level. And then on top of that is like there's some harmonic listening, listening to what chords the guitar player or the piano player are playing, trying to match the chords if they decide to change them a little bit. And then there's like dynamic stuff, like whoever is taking a solo at that time, trying to match their energy and trying to go where they're going, I guess is another part of it.
I think, there's something about the ability to do something together that calls for listening, and there's a kind of deep spirituality of this. Some of you are here tonight are interested in this analogy and the insight that can be gained for spirituality from jazz. Well, one of those things is this whole business of listening, right? In Christian terms, we're meant to be listening to God and listening to one another. The sign of wisdom in the book of Proverbs and places like that is listening to one another and growing in wisdom. So there's something about listening that's deep in our lives as human beings and deep in our lives, I think, in Christian terms. And maybe there's something we can learn from listening to these guys and watch them listen. I don't know. As we go along and we illustrate some of these themes and they play, we have a few invitations to you along the way. And one of those is, what would you learn if you reflected on your own listening and tried to develop that sort of deep, attentive listening that these guys have been showing us and also talking about?